The story of Italian gold coins begins, as so many things do, with the Romans. Before the rise of Rome, people in Italy used lumps of bronze for trade. These were heavy and awkward. They didn't have a standard value. Imagine trying to buy bread with a random chunk of metal. The Romans needed something better. They needed a proper system of money. This need became even more important as their power and influence began to spread across the Italian peninsula. A strong army and a growing republic needed a reliable currency to pay soldiers, fund construction, and manage a complex economy. The first steps towards this were bronze and silver coins, but gold was the ultimate symbol of wealth and stability. The very first Roman gold coins were not a regular part of daily life. They were created for special occasions, often to pay for wars. Around 218 BC, during the Second Punic War against Hannibal, the Romans issued a coin known as the stater. This was a significant moment. It showed that Rome had the resources and the ambition to compete with other great powers, like the Greeks, who had been using gold coins for centuries. These early coins were a statement. They told the world that Rome was a major player, rich enough to mint the most precious metal into money. It was a projection of power, a tool of propaganda, as much as a tool of commerce. These early gold coins often featured images of gods and goddesses. A common design showed the heads of the twin gods, Janus, on one side. On the other side, you might see a scene of a soldier taking an oath. This was very clever. The images connected the coin to Roman religion and military strength. It was a way of saying that the gods were on Rome's side and that its power was guaranteed by its army. The coins were not just money, they were little pieces of Roman identity. They carried messages about who the Romans were and what they believed in, spreading these ideas wherever the coins traveled. The introduction of gold coinage was a turning point for the Roman economy. It created a stable, high-value currency that could be used for large transactions. This made international trade much easier. A merchant could now carry a small bag of gold coins instead of a heavy cart of bronze bars. This new system helped to build the economic foundations of what would become a vast empire. The decision to mint gold wasn't just about convenience. It was a strategic move that fueled Rome's expansion and cemented its control. The little gold stater was the seed from which the mighty economy of the Roman Empire would grow. As the Roman Republic transformed into the Roman Empire, its gold coins evolved too. The most famous gold coin of the early empire was the aureus. Introduced by Julius Caesar around 46 BC, its name simply means golden. The aureus was a coin of incredible quality and purity. It was worth 25 silver denarii and became the workhorse of the imperial economy for large payments. It was used to pay legionaries, reward officials, and conduct trade across the vast territories of the empire. Finding an aureus today is like finding a direct link back to the age of the emperors, a tangible piece of their world. The design of the aureus was a powerful tool of imperial propaganda. Gone were the anonymous gods of the Republic. Now, the coin featured the portrait of the living emperor. This was a radical idea. It put the emperor's face into the hands of millions of people, from Britain to Syria. On the other side, the coin would show images that celebrated the emperor's achievements. You might see a depiction of a military victory, the construction of a new building, or a symbol of peace and prosperity. The coins were a constant reminder of the emperor's power, his generosity, and his divine right to rule. They were a daily news bulletin from the capital. However, over the centuries, the Roman Empire faced economic troubles. Emperors started to reduce the amount of gold in the aureus to pay their bills. This process, known as debasement, made the currency less reliable. By the 3rd century AD, the system was in chaos. It was Emperor Constantine the Great who fixed the problem. Around 312 AD, he introduced a new gold coin called the solidus. The solidus was slightly lighter than the old aureus, but it had a very consistent and pure gold content. This stability was its greatest strength, and it was a masterstroke of economic policy. The solidus became the most important coin in the world for the next 700 years. Its name is the origin of the word soldier, because soldiers were paid in this reliable currency. The coin's influence was so immense that it continued to be minted by the Byzantine Empire in the East long after the Western Roman Empire had collapsed. The designs on the solidus often showed the emperor in a Christian context, holding a cross or alongside an angel. This reflected the shift of the empire towards its new official religion. The solidus was more than just money. It was a symbol of the enduring legacy of Rome and the new power of Christianity. After the fall of the Western Roman Empire in 476 AD, Italy entered a period of great upheaval. The complex trade networks and a centralized economy that Rome had managed for centuries fell apart. This fragmentation had a dramatic effect on coinage. The new Germanic kingdoms that ruled parts of Italy, like the Ostrogoths and the Lombards, tried to continue the Roman tradition. They minted their own gold coins, but these were often crude imitations of the Roman solidus. They kept the images of the Roman emperors on them, even though those emperors were long gone. This was a way of trying to borrow some of Rome's old authority. However, the supply of gold in Western Europe was dwindling. Without the vast resources of the Roman Empire, minting new gold coins became increasingly difficult. Trade routes to the gold mines of Africa were disrupted. As a result, the circulation of gold coins in Italy slowed to a trickle. For the average person, gold coins disappeared from daily life. The economy became more localized. People returned to using silver coins for most transactions, and in many places, they even went back to bartering goods and services. This period is sometimes called the Golden Silence because the metal that had defined imperial power was no longer heard jingling in the marketplaces. The role of gold did not vanish completely, but it changed. Gold was still used by the very wealthy and powerful, the kings, dukes, and high-ranking church officials. It was used for diplomatic gifts, to pay tribute, or to store wealth. Magnificent gold objects like jewelry, crosses, and book covers were created, but the idea of a standard gold coin for everyday commerce was lost. The Byzantine Empire in the East continued to mint the solidus, and some of these coins did find their way to Italy through trade, especially in cities like Venice and Ravenna that maintained ties with Constantinople. These Byzantine coins were highly prized, but were rare treasures. This period without a native Italian gold currency lasted for several hundred years. It reflects the political and economic realities of the so-called Dark Ages. Italy was no longer a single unified entity, but a patchwork of competing powers. There was no central authority strong enough to impose a standard gold currency. The absence of gold coins is a powerful symbol of this fragmentation and economic decline. The silence was only broken when Italian cities began to grow wealthy and powerful enough to once again assert their own economic independence, signaling the end of one era and the dawn of a new one. By the 13th century, a great change was sweeping across Italy. Cities like Florence and Venice were booming. They had become the centers of international trade and finance, connecting Europe with the rich markets of the East. Their merchants and bankers were accumulating enormous wealth. They needed a stable, high-value currency to manage their vast commercial empires. The old silver coins were simply not practical for the huge sums of money being exchanged. The time was right for gold to make a comeback. This wasn't just a practical need. It was a statement of power and prestige for these newly confident city-states. In 1252, the city of Florence took a bold step. It began to mint a new gold coin called the Fiorino d'Oro, or the gold florin. The coin was made of pure gold and weighed a consistent 3.5 grams. On one side, it featured the city's emblem, the lily flower, or fiore in Italian, which gave the coin its name. On the other side was the image of St. John the Baptist, the patron saint of Florence. The florin was an instant success. Its purity and reliability were guaranteed by the powerful Florentine banking guilds. Merchants across Europe trusted it, and it quickly became the preferred currency for international trade. Not to be outdone, Florence's great rival, Venice, introduced its own gold coin in 1284. This was the ducat. Like the florin, the Venetian ducat was made of nearly pure gold and had a stable weight. Its design was just as symbolic. One side showed the Doge, the leader of Venice, kneeling before the city's patron saint, Saint Mark. Saint Mark is shown handing a banner to the Doge, a powerful image of divine approval for Venetian rule. The other side showed an image of Jesus Christ. The ducat, with its strong religious and political imagery, projected the immense pride and commercial might of the Venetian Republic. The reintroduction of the florin and the ducat marked a renaissance in European coinage. For the first time since the fall of Rome, a stable and widely accepted gold currency was being produced in Italy. These coins dominated European finance for over 300 years. Their names became synonymous with quality and value. Other cities and states across Europe began to mint their own versions, copying the weight and purity of the Florentine and Venetian originals. The florin and the ducat were not just pieces of money. They were symbols of the incredible economic and cultural revival happening in Italy. The gold coins of the Italian city-states were more than just financial instruments. Honestly, they were miniature works of art. In an age before mass media, coins were actually one of the most effective ways for a city to project its identity and pride. These small metal discs became a canvas for expressing civic values, religious devotion, and political ambition. The designs were carefully chosen and, often executed by the finest artists and engravers of the day. Each coin told a story about the place it came from. When a Florentine merchant paid for goods with a florin, he was also exporting a little piece of Florentine culture and prestige. The imagery on these coins was rich with local meaning. As we've seen, the florin had its lily and the ducat had its kneeling doge. Other cities followed suit. Genoa, another great maritime republic, minted a gold coin called the Genovino. It featured a castle gate, the symbol of the city, on one side, and a cross on the other. In Milan, the powerful Visconti and Sforza families who ruled the city put their own family crests and portraits on their coins. This was a clear message. The wealth and power of the city were tied directly to the ruling dynasty. These coins were a form of public relations, designed to impress rivals and inspire loyalty at home. The quality of the engraving on these coins was a point of immense pride. The Renaissance, was a time of artistic flourishing in Italy, and this was definitely reflected in the coinage. Engravers developed new techniques to create more detailed and lifelike portraits and symbols. The lettering became clearer and more elegant. A well-made coin was a sign of a city's technical skill and sophistication. It showed that the city had the wealth to hire the best craftsmen and the stability to maintain high standards. People judged a city by the quality of its money, and, honestly, a poorly struck or ugly coin could damage a city's reputation. These coins were a constant, tangible reminder of civic identity. A citizen of Florence, seeing the lily on a florin, would feel a sense of belonging to their great city. A Venetian, holding a ducat, would be reminded of the glory of Saint Mark and the power of their republic. In a divided Italy, where loyalty was often to one's city first and foremost, these coins helped to forge a strong sense of local patriotism. They were circulated far and wide, acting as ambassadors for their home cities. They were, in essence, art in your pocket, spreading the fame and influence of the Italian city-states across the known world. The Pope, as the ruler of the Papal States in central Italy, was not just a spiritual leader, but also a temporal one. Like other Italian rulers, the Pope minted his own coins to manage his territories and project his authority. Papal coinage has a long and fascinating history, and gold coins were particularly important. They were used for major diplomatic expenses, to fund the construction of magnificent churches like St. Peter's Basilica, and to pay for the art of masters like Michelangelo and Raphael. These coins were a clear demonstration of the immense wealth and worldly power of the Church during the Renaissance and Baroque periods. The designs of papal gold coins are, unsurprisingly, deeply religious. They are filled with Christian symbolism. A typical papal gold coin, often called a scudo d'oro, might feature a portrait of the reigning pope on one side. This was a way of personalizing the coin and dating it to a specific reign. The other side would often depict a saint, usually St. Peter or St. Paul, the patron saints of Rome. Other common images included the keys of St. Peter, a symbol of papal authority, or the Holy Spirit represented as a dove. These coins were a sermon in metal, spreading the message of the Catholic faith. During the Baroque era, in the 17th and 18th centuries, papal coins became especially elaborate and artistic. This was the age of the Counter-Reformation, when the Catholic Church was using grand art and architecture to inspire awe and reaffirm its power. The coins of this period reflect this trend. The portraits of the popes became more dramatic and realistic. The scenes on the reverse became more complex, sometimes showing entire biblical narratives or allegorical figures representing virtues like faith, hope, and charity. These coins were designed to be beautiful and impressive, reflecting the splendor and confidence of the Church. The minting of papal gold coins also had a political dimension. The inscriptions on the coins were always in Latin, the universal language of the Church and of scholarship. They often included the Pope's name and title, such as Pont Max, an abbreviation for Pontifex Maximus, or Supreme Pontiff, a title inherited from the Roman emperors. This asserted the Pope's claim to be the leader of all Christendom. By issuing his own high-value gold currency, the Pope was making a clear statement that he was a sovereign ruler, equal in status to any king or emperor in Europe. The coins were a fusion of faith, art, and political power. From the 16th century onwards, much of Italy fell under the control of foreign powers, most notably Spain and Austria, and later, France under Napoleon. This loss of independence had a profound impact on the coinage of the peninsula. The proud city-states and local duchies that had once minted their own distinctive coins were now forced to adopt the currency of their new overlords. The designs on Italian coins began to change, reflecting this new political reality. The familiar local symbols, like the Florentine lily or the Venetian doge, were gradually replaced by the portraits and coats of arms of foreign monarchs. The Spanish Habsburgs, who controlled Naples, Sicily, and Milan for centuries, introduced their own currency. Gold coins minted in these Italian territories now bore the portrait of the Spanish king, be it Philip II or Charles III. The inscriptions were often in Spanish or Latin, and the style of the coin was dictated by the standards of the Spanish Empire. These coins were legal tender across Spain's vast global territories, from Madrid to Mexico City. While they were minted in Italy, they were no longer truly Italian in character. They were symbols of foreign domination, a constant reminder that local authority had been superseded. The same process occurred in the parts of Italy controlled by the Austrian Habsburgs, such as Lombardy and Tuscany in the 18th century. Gold coins like the zecchino, the new name for the ducat, or the doppia, now featured the portrait of the Austrian emperor or empress, such as Maria Theresa. The double-headed eagle, the symbol of the Austrian Empire, became a common feature on coins minted in Milan. While the mints themselves were still in Italy, the designs they produced were now part of a larger imperial system. The coins lost their unique local flavor and became more standardized and uniform. The Napoleonic era at the turn of the 19th century brought another dramatic shift. Napoleon Bonaparte, styling himself as a modern Charlemagne, reorganized Italy. He created new states, like the Kingdom of Italy, and placed himself or his family members on their thrones. He introduced a new currency system based on the French franc, called the lira. gold coins minted during this period bore Napoleon's portrait, depicted in the style of a Roman emperor. This was a deliberate attempt to link his rule to the glory of ancient Rome. For a brief period, Italy had a unified currency again, but it was a currency imposed by a foreign conqueror. The 19th century was the age of the Risorgimento, the movement for Italian unification. After centuries of division and foreign rule, patriots fought to create a single, independent nation. In 1861, the Kingdom of Italy was finally proclaimed, with King Victor Emmanuel II of the House of Savoy as its first king. One of the first and most important tasks of the new kingdom was to create a national currency. To symbolize this new unity, the lira, which had been used in various parts of Italy, was established as the official currency for the entire country. This was a powerful step in forging a common Italian identity. The new kingdom began to mint its own gold coins. These were typically in denominations of 20 lira and 10 lira. Following the pattern of the new nation-state, the coins were standardized across the entire peninsula. On one side, they featured a portrait of the reigning monarch, first Victor Emmanuel II, then Umberto I, and finally Victor Emmanuel III. This was a departure from the city-specific symbols of the past. The king's face on the coin represented the new centralized state. He was the king of all Italians, from the Alps to Sicily, and the currency in their pockets reflected this. The reverse side of these gold coins typically featured the coat of arms of the House of Savoy, the royal dynasty that had led the unification. The Savoy coat of arms, a simple cross on a shield, was now the symbol of the entire nation. It was surrounded by a laurel wreath, a classical symbol of victory and the value of the coin. The design was elegant and formal, very different from the more artistic and varied coins of the Renaissance. The style was similar to other major European currencies of the time, like the British sovereign or the French Napoleon, reflecting Italy's desire to be seen as a modern, unified European power. The minting of gold lira coins for circulation was, however, relatively short-lived. These coins were part of the Latin Monetary Union, an agreement between several European countries to standardize their gold and silver coinage. However, the economic turmoil of the late 19th and early 20th centuries, culminating in the First World War, brought this system to an end. Gold was needed to finance the war, and it disappeared from public circulation. The beautiful gold lira coins of the unified kingdom became a relic of a brief era of monetary stability, symbols of the initial hope and pride of a newly born nation. After the First World War, the age of circulating gold coins in Italy, and indeed across most of the world, was over. The gold standard, where a currency's value was directly linked to a certain amount of gold, was abandoned. Paper money became the norm for everyday transactions. Gold was still held by central banks as a reserve of value, but it no longer passed from hand to hand in the marketplace. The Italian lira, now made of cheaper metals or printed on paper, continued as the national currency. Its value fluctuated over the decades, especially during a period of high inflation in the 1970s and 1980s. The days of the pure gold florin or ducat seemed very far away. Despite this, Italy continued to mint gold coins, but their purpose had changed. They were no longer money for spending. Instead, they became commemorative coins or collector's items. These coins, often called medallic coinage, were issued to mark special events. For example, a gold coin might be minted to celebrate an anniversary of the Republic, to honor a great Italian artist like Leonardo da Vinci, or to commemorate a major sporting event like the Olympic Games. These coins were produced in limited numbers and sold at a premium to collectors and investors. They were a way of continuing Italy's long and proud tradition of numismatic art. The most significant change in Italy's modern monetary history came on January 1st, 2002. On that day, after decades of planning for closer European integration, The lira was replaced by the euro. Italy, along with 11 other European nations, adopted the new single currency. This was a momentous event. For the first time since the Roman Empire, a large part of Europe shared a single unified currency. The national mint in Rome stopped printing lira and began producing euro coins. The ancient story of a distinctively Italian currency, which had begun with the Roman aureus and run through the florin, ducat, and lira, had come to an end. Today, Italy's contribution to the euro can be seen on the national side of the coins. Each country in the Eurozone can design its own image for one side of the coins. Italy chose to celebrate its immense artistic and cultural heritage. The Italian €1 coin, for example, features Leonardo da Vinci's famous drawing, The Vitruvian Man. Other coins feature Botticelli's Venus and the Colosseum in Rome. In a way, this brings the story full circle. While the gold has gone from circulation, the coins in an Italian's pocket are once again miniature works of art, celebrating a national identity that has shaped the world. The legacy of Italian coinage continues, now as part of a wider European story.